Hey guys, Scott here. Today I want to talk about the endless cycle of hatred and invasions between co-opers and PvPers. And I want to go over kind of where it started and I don't know how to address it, I guess. So the cycle that I'm talking about is that invaders are complaining because they're invading into 3v1 gang squads and they're just getting destroyed by overleveled phantoms and things like that. But on the flip side, there are people legit just running through the game that do not want to get interrupted by PvP because they just don't like PvP and they don't care about it. And I think both sides have pretty valid justifications for why they may be complaining about something. But I just want to go over both of them and give just my thoughts on that. So the whole first part with people that just want to do PvE, they don't want to deal with invasions. They just want to play with their friends too. So I'm it's sort of a mixed bag. On the one hand, I understand it. I understand just want to get through the game and not have the whole invasion experience be part of it. It's just unfortunately that's just not how the game is. I don't know how to like more politely put that, but you are expecting the game to contort in such a form that it's no longer the game that you think it is. So invasions have been a part of Souls games since ever, since Demon Souls. It's just a part of the game, and to selectively choose which parts of a game you think should be in it and not, I feel comes off as slightly entitled. And I still get it though. I get just wanting to play through a game with your friends and not having to worry about the PvP, especially because the PvP can be very stupid. And so I totally understand that. But it's the same thing as invaders complaining about invading into co-op and stuff like that. Co-op is just part of the game too. These are just things you just simply have to accept that are parts of the game, and to expect the game to conform to whatever you think it should be, I think comes off as entitled, again, on both sides. I don't think it's very fair. So that first part I've never really agreed with too much. Now, you can be annoyed by it. That's fine. I think people that say, oh my God, invasions are just so annoying, I hate them. That's whatever. It's the people that are like, invasions need to be removed from the game and stuff like that. That's, I think, where the problematic behavior lies. But if you're not in that boat, then whatever. It doesn't really matter. So I think for the first couple of months of the game, I think I side sort of with the PvEers, the co-opers. Because, you know, if you're going through your first playthrough, you're in Stormville Castle, level 30, dude invades you and you're just playing with your buddy and he's got fucking rivers of blood and 7 fully upgraded flasks. Yeah, that's a little stupid, I think. And that can be a very unfair experience for the actual game. But to play devil's advocate on the other side as well, I need to make it clear that I think people that don't understand how the system works, I think they are thinking something is happening that's not actually happening. Because one of the main complaints that I see from people that hate invasions and stuff like that is they say that, oh, I got invaded by this super strong twink that just like one-shotted me. Twink, by the way, in this context is someone that is more powerful for their level than they should be. And they're saying, they're just getting invaded by these twinked out PvPers and they're just one-shotting them and stuff like that. And I think these people genuinely just don't know how the matchmaking system works. So it has become consistently harder and harder to twink in Souls games, since Dark Souls. In Dark Souls, there was the legendary, Undead Burg or Undead Parish twinks that were invading you with, maxed out chaos weapons that scaled with humanity and not even any real stats. So they were just, it was ridiculous, the amount of twinking that went on there. But ever since then, each Souls game, it's gotten progressively harder and harder to do that. Dark Souls 2 introduced Soul Memory, which was an attempt at fixing it, but it ended up just being somehow even worse. Then Dark Souls 3 implemented the weapon matchmaking system. So now not only are you matched with people of a similar level, but now you're matched with people of a similar weapon level. So you can't get to the end of the game with a maxed out weapon and invade new players with a maxed out weapon. And then Elden Ring has taken it a step further to where you can no longer even invade solo players. You can only invade people doing co-op with all the other previous restrictions. So people that are complaining that, you're getting invaded by twinked out, high level phantoms and stuff like that that are one-shotting you, it's not really possible. You can't get invaded by high level phantoms. In fact, they have to be at your level or below pretty much. There's a slight window above, but they're usually going to be below your level. In addition to that, they can't have maxed out weapons either. They're going to have similar weapon upgrade levels to you as well. So there isn't that physically cannot really happen in this game. So if you are getting invaded and the people are one-shotting you with, in Stormville Castle, for example, if you're getting invaded, they're likely going to have a +1 somber weapon, which is like a +3 normal weapon. You can't really be one-shot by that. If you are getting one-shot by that, it's probably because you have 9 vigor. And that is more a problem, I think, with the build that you have than the game itself. Now, I understand the stats for PvP and PvE can differ. You can beat the game with 40 vigor, no problem. And in PvP, that's a nightmare. So I get that people running through the game are not going to have optimized PvE stats, but just some advice, please. Even for PvE, having that low of vigor where everything is one-shotting you, I think it's not a problem with the game at that point. It's your build is just really bad, and you need to try to maybe fix it a bit. You get a lot of respecs in this game. Drop 10 points of damage and gain 500 more health. Like, it's pretty easy to fix that type of issue. But I just wanted to go over that main point, that people that are complaining about getting twinked by, a lot of people are not realizing that's almost impossible in this game. The guy invading you, even if he has a Rivers of Blood, even if he actually has a Rivers of Blood at level 30, it's still going to be a +1 Rivers of Blood, which melees for like 100 damage a hit. Even Corpse Piler will do like 300, 400 damage. If that's one-shotting you, that's not the problem with the game, and it's not the problem with the guy invading you being wildly overpowered. You just need more health, man. That's just, you're not supposed to be getting one shot by that. We can't do that anymore. There's no real super strong twinking. In fact, the only super strong twink thing I think invaders can do are bring consumables that you have to farm for and have more flasks. I will say, having flasks in excess of the host is probably stupid. And if there was to be something different, it should be that at the lower levels, your flasks should be limited to the amount of flasks that the host has. Like, you should never be able to have more flasks than the host. I think that's pretty unfair. If you're invading with +12 flasks and you have 7 of them because it's cut in half from 14, the host getting the Stormveil probably has like 5 + 1 or 2 flasks or something like that. You have vastly more healing than them, and I think that can be pretty unfair. But that's pretty much it. That's sort of as far as twinking goes in Elden Ring. There's a couple of other things like, some consumables that you can farm for. And there's a couple of like, throwable items that can be more useful. And you might have some arrows and stuff like that. But people are not invading you with maxed out weapons at level 30. It's impossible. You can't do that. So I just want to go over that point. For a lot of people that are new to the series, they don't understand that part. That can't actually be happening. And if it is happening, it's probably because your build just simply doesn't have enough life. And basically everything's one-shotting you at that point. However, now let's go over the whole other side. As time went on, this has sort of shifted. Originally, I sided with the people that were just wanting to have their first playthrough experience, and they just didn't want to be interrupted from a dude that was super geared up and ready for PvP, right? Even though we just discussed they can't be super overpowered or anything like that, it can still feel like that. And I sided with those people for a while, but as time has went on, and now more and more people are getting pissed off about invaders, so now they invite their high-level friends to come play with them. Now the cycle has just started, and there's no stopping it, because I will definitely say invasions are extremely unfair for the invader. At lower levels, I will say at lower levels, they're extremely unfair, which is funny because you would think it would be the other way around, right? You would think at lower levels, okay, I'm invading people that are still babies, and they're not going to have too much. I have found it to be the complete opposite. In fact, I did an entire day of level like 60 invasions, and then I did an entire day of like level 230 invasions. The 230 invasions were so much easier by an order of magnitude. It was so much easier to win. And the reason is, if there's overleveled phantoms at that level, I'm already overleveled. It doesn't matter anymore because we're all the same level of bullshit. But if I'm invading at level 60, and there's a dude with, Radagon's sword, and he's casting sorcery and also Wrath of God, or Gold, I'm sorry, and every spell in the game, and I hit him for 14 damage and he bleeds me in one hit, is bullshit. Downscaling phantoms have been a problem since Dark Souls 3. It has never worked properly. I made this exact same video 6 years ago, illustrating the exact same issue, and they just didn't fix it. It's the exact same problem. So, for those who don't know, phantoms are downscaled. Your health is decreased, your FP is decreased, and your stamina is decreased, and your overall damage is decreased, but that's about it. That's all that gets decreased. So it doesn't take into account all of the spells that you can possibly have. It doesn't take into account the fact that you have more endurance, so you can wear much heavier armor than you should be able to at that current level with those stats. It doesn't take into account the scaling of status effects on your weapon. So if you have a weapon with 170 bleed on it because you're level 5 billion, and then you get summoned to a level 1 Phantom World, you still have 7 billion bleed on your weapon, so you're still going to one-shot people with bleed on every time you swing. That's one of the biggest problems, honestly. That doesn't get scaled down properly. Their flasks don't get scaled down or anything like that. There's, flat defenses and all that stuff don't get scaled down. So there's a lot of things that are not properly scaled down to the point where if you're invading at low level, chances are you're gonna invade someone that's got a higher level phantom, and then it's just not fair anymore. And I get it's not supposed to be fair. To me, the ideal level of unfair is when the invader invades into a world with 3 players genuinely going through the game that are all, of the same level. I think that's what the intended disadvantage for the invader is supposed to be. That's just what I think. It's not saying that I'm right or anything. That's where it seems like the difficulty is supposed to lie. Where, okay, I'm invading in this world. I'm massively outnumbered, but I'm ready for PvP, and I can maybe use some enemies in the world to sort of even it out. I'm still at a disadvantage, but it's possible to win. That's, I think, where the ideal difficulty is. And for the people co-oping, they might be, hey, we're not as good at PvP. We're not as geared for PvP. But there's 3 of us. If we all just wail on them with dragon breaths and shit or whatever, sometimes it doesn't matter how good the guy invading is. They'll just get overwhelmed by hit stuns and moon veils and whatever. Just like sometimes it doesn't matter how good you are. You still get wrecked by simply having a lot of people attacking you at once. I think that's where the ideal difficulty of where both sides shouldn't be complaining should be. However, that's not really what happens anymore. When you invade now, you're not invading into that scenario. You're invading into a world where there's a regular host that's your level, and then 2 people that just will eat you for breakfast. No matter what you do, even if you outplay them, they just have billions of health. It doesn't scale down properly. So for invaders, it is just wildly unfair at lower levels, which is funny because it's the complete opposite. Again, it's the opposite of what you would think. You would think at lower levels, it would be easier, but it's not. And at the higher levels, you actually have all the tools to deal with multiple people, ganging up on you and stuff like that. And it becomes not a very big deal. So I think the core issue of the frustrations between both sides is the incorrect downscaling of phantoms. And again, I said this 6 years ago, and I'm going to say it again. Phantoms are not downscaled properly. It needs to take into account things like status effects, their flat defenses. Those are the things that every time you put a point into any attribute, your raw defenses just increase by default. And so when you're much higher level, you just take less damage. Even if you don't, wear any more armor, you just take less damage than a lower level character. And that doesn't scale down properly either. That's why you hit high level phantoms for like no damage, because they just have higher regular defenses. And I think if we fix the main issues with phantom downscaling, a lot of these complaints sort of go away. Because again, if we go back to that scenario where it's, a level 50 dude invading a level 50 dude, they both have +5 weapons, and, he's got some phantoms with +5 weapons that are also level 50. I think that's a pretty balanced experience. I think that's kind of how it should be, and that's somewhat fair. We just need to avoid those scenarios where it's a level 50 guy going against a level 50 guy and a level 700 guy and a level 500 guy. That's stupid. I think that should not happen. I think it's stupid even for PvE too. It's okay if you want your friends to carry you through the game. I just don't think it should be, I don't know, that easy, I guess. But I guess that's why they said this game is the most accessible ever. So I get that. I'm not going to, if you want to do that, that's fine. I just think that personally it's a little ridiculous, even for PvE. But that's just me wanting you to have the same experience I had. I don't think the fight with Radagon is going to be as cool as, if you just summon 2 phantoms that just obliterate it in 2 seconds and then you just don't even get to fight him. I don't know. I think that's just robbing yourself of the experience of the game, but I'm not going to gatekeep your fun. If you just want to dick around with your friends and just watch your friends kill stuff, that's fine. But I just wanted to go over that whole kind of cycle of hatred between invaders and the co-op players, because it's been a battle of people trying to out-twink each other pretty much. Invaders want to be able to kill the overleveled phantoms, but sometimes they invade worlds that don't have overleveled phantoms, and then those people get pissed off and hate invaders, and then it's a cycle that's never going to stop. So I don't see that ever stopping until scaling phantoms are fixed, pretty much, because then invaders will have far less to complain about, and then I think it'll be more a fairly balanced match. Now, this has nothing to do with the actual balance of the game. When you throw in a bunch of just Bloodhound Step and just a bunch of random stuff, all of this goes out the window. None of this matters anymore. But I'm trying to think of the core aspects of the game and talk about that stuff. So that's it. I just wanted to go over that whole cycle. Can it be stopped? I don't think so. I think the wheel's been set in motion. I don't think it's ever going to stop. But that is it. I just want to have a discussion about that. Thanks for watching. See ya.